A true story that should never be told. Late one evening, a message appeared in my inbox. It was nothing unusual at first, just another story. Another true encounter someone wanted to share. But as I read it, the words began to settle in a way that was unnerving. There are stories that are hard to forget, ones that stick with you long after the last sentence. But some stories, they stay with you forever. And they leave you wondering if you're really safe. This is one of those stories. Some events are never meant to be explained, and some truths may be far more disturbing than we think. Pause for effect, and sometimes when you try to uncover the truth, it might just come looking for you. Let's begin. This story was submitted by a man named Adrian, a quiet IT technician from Ohio. He wanted to share what happened in the fall of 2021 after he moved into a house his uncle left behind in his will. It was meant to be a fresh start. It became a living nightmare. Adrian was in a dark place. He had just lost his job due to mass layoffs, and his relationship had ended weeks prior. Emotionally drained, financially unstable, and desperate for change, the inheritance felt like a blessing. The house was located at the edge of a quiet, wooded neighborhood in Ohio. It was small but two-storied, fenced with iron and shadowed by old trees that never seemed to lose their leaves. When Adrian arrived, the house looked oddly untouched, as though frozen in time. The air around it was still, almost too still. The neighbors greeted him politely, but avoided eye contact whenever the house came into conversation. One little girl across the street clutched her mother's hand and whispered, "That's where the crying lady lies." Her mother shushed her quickly. Inside, the house had an eerie silence, like the walls were waiting to speak. The wallpaper was peeling. Clocks hung on multiple walls, but none of them worked. Oddly enough, all the clocks were stopped at 3:07 a.m. The first week passed with minor incidents. Lights flickered occasionally. The hallway would feel colder than the rest of the house. Adrian dismissed them as faulty wiring and bad insulation, but things escalated. One night, he was awakened by the sound of footsteps above his room. He lived alone. He went up to check nothing. The attic was sealed, or so he thought. The next morning, his coffee mug had moved from the counter to the kitchen floor. The cat refused to enter the hallway and would hiss at seemingly empty air. The bathroom mirror fogged up one morning despite no hot water running. On it were the words, "Do not open the door." But what door? There was only one door in the bathroom. The attic door. While inspecting the hallway one day, Adrian noticed a crack in the ceiling where a panel was slightly open. He had never noticed it before. It turned out to be a concealed attic entry. He pulled the ladder down. It was dust-covered but intact. The first time he climbed up, he brought a flashlight and camera. The attic was empty except for old crates and a strong odor, something between sulfur and rust. His footage later showed a brief static interruption as he panned. The camera left a glitch, he thought. That night, breathing sounds came from above. Not creaking, breathing. Determined to make sense of things, Adrian set up motion-triggered cameras in the hallway and a voice recorder near his bed. What he captured chilled him. The camera in the living room showed a figure standing in the corner for nearly 6 hours, not moving, not blinking. It disappeared right before sunrise. The voice recorder picked up what sounded like a woman sobbing and saying, "Please don't go, please don't." Adrian began seeing things, a pale woman with long hair and no eyes standing at the end of the hallway, vanishing the moment he blinked. The letter in his uncle's locked drawer, Adrian found a yellowed letter dated 1974. It warned, "Whatever you do, don't open the cellar door beneath the attic floor. It's not just a room. It's a gate." There was a crude map included. Adrian followed it to the attic. Beneath a loose floorboard, he found a small, rusted door chained and sealed with nails. Around it were claw marks as if something tried to escape or something was trying to keep it in. Night of the whispers. The house changed after that. Adrian couldn't sleep. The walls began to whisper his name at 3:07 a.m. every night. Doors slammed on their own. He was locked in his own bathroom for over an hour until the mirror shattered by itself. The recording device captured overlapping voices crying and laughing at once. One night, the voice of his deceased uncle said, "You found it, now it'll find you." A glimpse of what's below. One night, Adrian gave in. He removed the chains from the attic hatch and opened it. Below was a narrow, iron staircase descending into total darkness. With a GoPro strapped to his chest and a flashlight, he descended. The air grew heavier with each step. Below, he found rooms with blood-red symbols, a cot with restraints, and a journal filled with incoherent ramblings about the sleeper. The final page read, "It feeds on awareness. Now that you know, it knows you." Psychological collapse. Adrian began to lose track of time. Daylight seemed to vanish. The house was colder, louder. He saw versions of himself walking down hallways. Once his reflection smiled back at him while his real face remained still. The neighbor's dog barked constantly in Adrian's direction, then vanished. The family said he was never there. He received a voicemail from his own number. "Why did you wake it up? You were safe before." He tried to leave. Car wouldn't start. Uber never arrived. Every road led him back to the house. The GPS always rerouted him to the same spot, his own driveway. The walls of the house extended. New rooms formed overnight. One had a mirror that showed a funeral his. On the fridge was a note that simply said, "You belong to it now." The final night at 3:07 a.m., the house fell silent. Adrian sat in the corner of the living room, camera in hand. The attic door creaked open on its own. His final recording was filled with static, except for his whisper, "He's awake now." Police found the house weeks later. Empty. Adrian was gone. Nothing remained but his cat, starving but alive. All recordings were wiped except one corrupted file. Adrian's voice repeating, "He's awake now. He's awake now. He's awake now." Some houses don't want to be lived in. Some doors should stay closed. And some stories, they should never be told. But now that you've heard it, just remember, if you hear a knock at 3:07 a.m., don't answer. If this story kept you on edge, you're not alone. Share it with someone who says they don't believe in the supernatural. Hit that like button if you made it to the end. Subscribe for more terrifying true stories. And if you have one of your own, send it to us. Just know once the story is told, it's never truly over.